Welcome back into the Motor Index, folks. And well, Chase Briscoe has finally won at Joe Gibbs Racing, winning the race at Pocono this Sunday. Great performance by him. Great fuel strategy. We'll get into all of that and more. We got a lot to discuss as we leave Pocono, heading into Atlanta this coming week. Let's get right on into it. So Chase Briscoe wins at Pocono. Very strategy ridden race. A lot of people online weren't a big fan of the race. It was tough. It was very tough to pass for the lead, but I personally found the racing, you know, in the mid to back of the pack, I found it to be pretty entertaining. And I thought there were guys who were able to make their way, I guess not to the front, but to the front to contend at least. And newsflash: Chase Briscoe was not at the front of the field to start this race. At least he wasn't on the front row. But besides the point, yeah, I don't know. A lot of people have a problem with this race. I personally have no issues with this race. I get it was difficult to pass for Hamlin at the end of that race, but I mean, I don't know. Oh, they're all everybody's gonna say is, oh well, it's a car saving fuel and is able to maintain the lead. I get it. I totally get it. But at the same time, I thought there were elements of this race that made it entertaining, like the strategy. Which let's just get right on to how this race played out, because I'm tired of talking about the negative aspects. So yeah, stage one, Hamlin pretty much dominates the whole thing. But at the end of that stage, you had a group of cars flip the stage and end up in the front of the field at the start of stage two. That group, I'm forgetting who else was among that group, but it was spearheaded by Brad Keselowski and Carson Hocevar. They end up at the front of the field for the start of stage two. And then stage two was kind of a caution fest. There were some very, very exciting restarts with some great racing, but it really did end up turning into a caution fest for much of that stage. I know at one point you had Stenhouse and Hocevar at the front on the front row for a restart, which that was pretty entertaining. You had a lot of battles between those two amid their beef the past couple of weeks, but we will have to wait another week to see if anything comes of that. Nothing came of it at Pocono, rightfully so, given the danger of that track. But yeah, so stage two, caution fest, and then by the end you end up with Chase Briscoe in the lead, and I think it was a pretty late restart there at the end of stage two, like with only like 6 or 7 laps to go in the stage. He ends up holding on for the stage win, and then stage three ends up being, everything kind of gets decided on the green flag pit stop. So it was, you know, um, so the green flag pit cycle comes along. Briscoe was one of the first guys. I remember it was pretty early on into the fuel window. I believe it was like literally right as the announcers on TV were saying fuel windows open, you had a group of cars start to come, and I'm forgetting who that was in that first group. Doesn't look like it. I don't think it was anybody who finished in the top 10. You know who I feel like it might have been? I feel like it might have been somebody like Christopher Bell or something. And I could be completely wrong, but a group of cars started to come in, and then eventually you have the leader with like the leader the next time by, who was Briscoe, comes along, gets fuel or does his pit stop, but does not wait on fuel, and it looks quick in the moment, but then when you start seeing the other cars coming along and waiting on fuel after they come down off the jack and then being told to go by the crew chief, it was the thought process was that, okay, Briscoe is going to run out of fuel. And then they end up showing on TV that, yes, James Small comes on the radio and says, hey, we're going to probably be screwed there on fuel because you didn't go on my command. Instead, you went when the jack went down like you normally do. And that was with that caution with like 30 some odd laps to go when they came back, and then they come back to the restart. But at that point, I thought this was going to be decided between. I thought it was going to be between Denny Hamlin and maybe like a Chris Buescher. But then Blaney ends up in the mix, because Blaney was not in the mix all day. And we're going to get into some of these specifics on each people's day here in a minute. But yeah, I did not think with 30 laps to go that Briscoe was going to be able to hold him off. But as they keep going along, it for the sentiment, at least on the 11 team, was that he was a half a lap short. So he would take the white flag and then run out sometime on that final lap. Hamlin passed him for the win. Didn't end up happening. It was just a suspense for 20, 30 laps there as those laps wound down. But I thought it was exciting, and I get what people are what people are saying with the whole can't pass a car under green without or with dirty air, even if the leader's saving fuel. I get it. I get what you're saying, but I still thought the strategy was compelling and that there was some great racing throughout the day. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Do I think it was worthy of like an 80 or 90 on the Gluck poll? No. Do I think it was worth the 45 it got? No, I don't think so either. So, let's get into some of the top finishers here. So obviously Briscoe with the winner. Denny Hamlin comes home number 2. I don't know how many number 2 or top 5s he has apart from wins at Pocono, but it sure looked there for a second that he was going to get that 8th win at Pocono. Yeah, I remember after the race, he said that he just got, his car would get really tight if he would pull up to the back of the 19 car and then try to, make a run down low. It was just not going to work out. So it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see a better battle there, but is what it is. And who I thought was going to be in that battle potentially had it had it spiced up. Had that battle spiced up, I thought Ryan Blaney, who ends up finishing 3rd, was going to potentially have a chance to pass both of them and win the race, maybe going back to back at Pocono. So that did not come to fruition, but Blaney had a whale of a day. They had to replace a starter on that car, so they got sent to the back. And then I think it was a pretty uneventful stage 1. And then stage 2, when I actually didn't even talk about this, Brad Keselowski ended up pitting under caution. I don't know exactly how that happened. I thought I saw somebody said on Twitter that that Hamlin may have baited him to go to pit road or doing something. I didn't get the specifics on that, but on that cycle, I believe was when Blaney sped on pit road, and then he goes to the back again, and then has to make his way through the field. Ends up making his way up to 3rd at the finish, though I think he could have won. He also had a cool suit failure, which we all know how difficult that can be, but especially on a very steaming hot day at Pocono and the intensity of that track. Yikes. Yeah, not probably not a fun one for Ryan Blaney there, but I did see that he was struggling when he got out of that car, and they were having to help him out, get him rehydrated and cooled down. So glad to hear that he's okay, but that's the reality of being a race car driver. Sometimes those things can happen, and we've all seen it. So crazy stuff. But coming home 4th, Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher, man, I think Chris Buescher's really close to a win. I do think by the end of, at bare minimum, the season, but I think before the end of the regular season, I'm predicting Chris Buescher's going to get a win. I thought he was the only person, at least in that first stage, who had anything for Denny Hamlin. And I thought, and that was the other thing with Denny Hamlin and Chris Buescher, 2 very competitive cars, ended up not in contention for actually a lot of this race. Started the race, first stage, 1 and 2 the whole time. Then, for whatever reason on strategy, they end up way further back. By the time stage 3 rolls around, they're back in the front competing for the win. I don't know if that's a fuel strategy thing with maybe having to stay longer at different times of the race or what. But interesting to think about. I'd love to do a deep dive on how that happened. But it's probably what I just said. So, Chase Elliott comes home 5th, a nice top 5 for Chase Elliott. Yeah, it's about what you expect. I think I'm going to probably look stupid. I saw somebody on X saying this, that has Chase Elliott finished in the top 20 of every race this year? I'd have to look if that's true. If that's true, that's a great stat for him. Though, if you're an Elliott fan, you want to see that win come sooner rather than later. Where that could be, I mean, he's won in Atlanta, which is next week. He has not won in Chicago. Don't know if he's won in Sonoma or not. But road course is obviously a specialty of Chase Elliott's. At least back in the day, it was. Maybe not so much nowadays, but I think Chase Elliott's got some opportunities to add on to that but and I think he's got some solid speed right now, but I've still yet to see real win contending speed. And I'm talking qualifying really well inside the top five and then running top five all day. Have not seen it yet. Only place I would say I saw it was Kansas, and we all know how Kansas ended up. So, yeah. John Hunter Nemechek in sixth place. How about that? John Hunter, I think it was his high. It was his best qualifying position in his Cup Series career this weekend at Pocono. I believe he started fourth. So great stuff from John Hunter Nemechek. That whole camp there at Legacy Motor Club is having a really nice year. You don't really think about them too often, but they're really putting together a really nice year. And I think when it's all said and done, it'll be really interesting to compare the stats of this year's Legacy cars to last year, because I think it's going to be a significant improvement. So excited about that. Kyle Larson in seventh. He was far back in the field at times this race. I'm forgetting where he started and what happened, but a lot of people were kind of ragging on Larson, saying he's not very good at Pocono and whatnot. And I don't know if I guess he didn't have a win here. I don't know if I don't know exactly if he does or not, but it feels like he's competed here before. I mean, just look at the Bowman when he blew the tire on the final turn. Look at when he gets shoved into the wall by Denny Hamlin late in that one Pocono race. So it's not like he hasn't ever competed here, but I'd have to look at his finishes. I don't know where his finish rate is at Pocono, but I think you'll take a top 10 any day, especially if you're not really competing for the win, which Larson really wasn't ever at times. Um, all right, number 8th, Ryan Preece. How about that? Another great run for Ryan Preece. Uh, Quietly putting together one of the best, most improved driver seasons that we've seen in quite some time. And I think that's more so just, getting into a better ride over at RFK and really making the most of the equipment he has. I swear it feels like I'm seeing Ryan Preece in the top 10 practically every week. And I know that's not what the stats say, like in terms of just finishes, but he's definitely got to be. I'd love to see his top tens next to races that he has simply ran at least one lap in the top 10, and we're not talking off of like pit cycles. I would love to see what that would look like, because I bet it's a lot higher than some people think. So um, quiet good season coming or building from Ryan Preece. A car who has gotten, well, the team owner of Ryan Preece's car has slowly and methodically gotten better as the season has gone on, which is Brad Keselowski. And say what you want, I know it was off strategy, but I thought that Keselowski car potentially had a chance at maybe a top 5 or even a win this Sunday. But I'm forgetting how there's obviously so much going on during a race, and you forget how things play out. But forgetting what happened with Keselowski, but I mean, it was impressive to see him run up at the front. And I remember I think he was even running in like the top 10 prior to flipping the stage. So um, great to see Brad showing some speed. I'm not sure, it's going to be really tough for him to get in the playoffs. I think he has to win. And I don't know if that'll happen. I mean, Atlanta next week, you got Daytona in the season. Those would be the two I really got circled if I'm him. I don't know if he's got a chance to win anywhere else, but we'll see. But the speed has been great recently, so that is good for him. And then rounding out the top 10, you got Austin Cindric. So pretty dang solid day from the Fords at Pocono. Obviously, Toyota getting in victory lane, but you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Fords in the top 10. So great day. Pretty uneventful day for Cindric, if I'm not really remembering anything about it. So we're gonna not really get much into much of that. So I guess two other finishers I have written down here. 27th, William Byron. Not a good run for him. One he'll like to forget. And then another one he'll want to forget his day. Tyler Reddick coming home 32nd, the second to last running car of the day. only in front of I don't remember. It was Ty Dillon. Yeah, he was one lap down, but I don't remember exactly what went haywire with Tyler Reddick's day. But just overall, like I don't know what's going on with Tyler Reddick this season. Ended the summer last year, he was unbelievably good. But now, I don't know what's going on. It feels like since the playoffs started last year, and I know we got that win at Homestead in the playoffs. I know I was there. But from the playoffs till now, the start of the playoffs last year till now, it's just not been the same as Tyler Reddick prior, at least during that crazy summer run, which was obviously an unbelievable run, and you don't expect him to be finishing top 10 every single week. But I don't know. I just have not seen legitimate race winning speed, and he hasn't even been like contending speed. So that's a little worrisome. So I don't know what's going on with the 2311 cars. I would even say, I mean, Riley Herbst has been non-existent. But even Bubba Wallace, I mean, he's had some decent runs, but it just kind of feels like 2311 as a whole might be missing something right now. So I don't know what's going on. But that's all I've got for y'all today. So thank y'all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and stay tuned for some coverage heading into Atlanta this week. I'm not sure what I'll have going, but certainly a preview and maybe another video. So thank y'all. Take care. God bless.